Beloveds, beloveds, beloveds. This has been brewing and manifesting over the last, I would say about the last week, as a communication point and a activation. Everything that I choose to share in the social media platforms or that comes through me is an activation of remembrance. And the information and the knowledge of how much your ego and your separate mind continues to keep you in a place of separation rather than connecting to the truth. So here is the conversation around my name, or the name that has been chosen. And I feel it's a really important piece to explain. I shared a piece around the spiritual ego and how your spiritual ego will trap you from seeing truth when you go into hierarchy and superiority and in the place of knowing and telling people that a certain thing is the right way and the wrong way. Now, this is where universal law is rather fascinating and interesting because it's very paradoxical. So if you know me on a personal level, you would have experienced many versions of me. Because the I, which is Danyelle Butler, the I is the identity that has been created in this physical reality based on conditioning and experiencing and my separate mind. So Danyelle Butler is a character in a beautiful play of us, and she does not know anything. Danyelle Butler is a mixture of programs, belief systems, traumas, and ideas created by the mind that when you communicate from that place of identity and ego, it may think it knows things, but it doesn't really know anything. And it's all confused with rights and wrongs, polarity. Now, the Geeia Ariati, which is the name that I have claimed from a higher perspective, due to the constant guidance and message from higher realms of truth, whether you call it messages from Creator, whether you say it's messages from the unity consciousness field, Geeia Ariati is the multidimensional version of my spirit, who knows, who can channel truth. That is not my identity. I can't do that. That's not me, right? That's not me. The me that some of you have experienced is playful and silly and often very rambly, and that version of myself is not the true essence of what comes through my heart in knowing. And this is for all of us, every single one of us. We have an identity of a character that's created. That identity's thoughts, feelings, beliefs really don't have any knowing, and it's very conflicting. But the true essence of the being, the true essence that is one with all of creation, that understands and has the remembrance of universal laws and what truth is, does know. There's not very much to know. It's really quite simple when we get down to it. But that knowing, and if you continue as the identity or the ego to tell yourself and spiritually bypass yourself, like I have many, many times, that I don't know and who am I to share things? Who am I to say this is truth? Well, it's not me that's actually saying that. The Danyelle Butler is not saying, I know this. It's the higher version of the self, the higher self, or the multi-dimensional version of creation. In that place, when you're coming from that place, when you're really coming from a place of inner knowing and oneness and connection, and you're receiving messages and you know they're filtered by the heart, that's truth, right? It's the whispers of Creator. There is universal truth. There is information that is undeniably known within the being. Now, when we have an ego or an identity, that part of ourselves is very, very, very tricky. Very tricky part, because my identity, the created character, will constantly be questioning everything that's coming through until I choose to let it go. Because the created character has unworthiness issues, has trust issues, has trauma, has stories, has fear. The separate mind that I have created doesn't trust anything, let alone information that's coming through, which causes cognitive dissonance. And the story that is programmed within my energy blueprint, which I have now successfully cleared, is I'm crazy. So my identity believes I'm crazy. How do we as individuals trust a higher knowing? How do we trust our higher selves, or our multidimensional being, which is connected to Creator, which is God speaking through us? It's understanding that the identity is separate from truth. And if you're speaking from your identity, you're probably full of shit. And if you're speaking from your heart and you're really breathing in and you're coming into that place, you'll feel it. What happens? You drop into the body. Your heart opens, energy flows, your voice softens, you slow down. You start to have an awareness of everything around you. You start to sense things, you start to hear things. You're actually connected. And in that place of connection of no mind, that's when you receive pure consciousness. You have to make the space to come into that and understand that your identity, the you or the I, is your best friend. Your best friend. It will tell you exactly when you've come out of your heart. It tells you when you're not speaking from love. It tells you when you're not speaking from truth. It's your reminder. So my identity is no longer something I choose to claim, because I know my identity is full of lies. I know my identity doesn't have the ability to speak truth. And my message from what I am here to do, which is be a portal of remembrance, my purpose is to activate the remembrance of who you truly are, also who I truly am. Not the I, Danyelle Butler, the true remembrance. And so in that space of coming from a place of higher knowing, I had to choose to come from the knowing of Geeia Ariati. the multi-dimensional version of the self, the spirit, the full creation, the essence. There's choice points. One of these choice points for me was releasing the name of my identity. Have I completely released my identity? No. Have I completely, there was a lovely word someone said yesterday on a post, deconstructed. Have I completely deconstructed my being? No. I still come into a place of coming from my separate mind, and I haven't completely fine-tuned it, so I'm in my center. But the dial is getting less and less, so I will separate a little bit this way, and I'll separate a little bit this way, and then it's like, oh, okay, yep, all right. I just need to tune back here. Your identity is your best friend. And in that place of questioning, it's also a place of coming to question that you don't know anything, but you also know everything. And the very cosmic joke around what that is, and accepting it, and accepting that the I, the identity, knows nothing, but the true essence of you, all that is, knows all. So it's just coming to a place of recognition of where am I speaking from? Am I speaking from my I, or am I speaking from truth? What does that feel like? What does it feel like in the body when I speak from truth? What does it feel like in my consciousness when I speak truth? What does it feel like in my interactions when I'm embodied truth? How do I receive people? How do I receive my experience? We all know. Yes, my given name by spirit, by a higher being or a higher knowing, or I'm not even going to go into that story. Still one my identity is fighting against. Not full acceptance, because the knowing is hard for the identity and the separate mind to conceive, which is why we learn these pieces or remember these pieces in sections. Because if our mind went into a place of remembrance in one go, it would be too much for us to actually hold. And that's when we have psychosis. We receive too much knowing before we're ready to embody it. So it's like, how much knowing can I learn to embody? I'm only given what I can handle right now. And even in the psychosis, it's exactly what you can handle. And eventually you come into a place of embodiment. So all of it's perfect. Where do you want to come from? Do you want to come from your knowing? Do you want to be guided by life? Do you want to be able to be connected from your heart and have your heart lead the way to see, perceive, and be in a new reality? Or do you want to continue to choose from the identity? The identity that will loop on different stories and won't know the way and doesn't have clarity and doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to make change, doesn't know how to heal, doesn't know how to let go. Because you can't logically, from your separate mind, come into a place of clarity. You can't conceptualize it. You can't make sense of something that is not comprehensible by the mind. So I chose the knowing. And I continue to choose the knowing, because that's a part of what I'm here for, is to share the knowing of higher truth. And I will claim that, because I know I have it. The true I am. And you all have it too. You have all of this information within you, in your cells, in your atoms. You are made up of universal truth. You are oneness. You are a vessel for higher information, for Creator, every one of you. I am no more special than anybody else. We are all remembering at different rates. And no one is guiding anyone into anywhere. We are just consciousness unfolding and recognizing itself. I love you. There are some event links below if you're feeling called to come to any events. There is a medicine ceremony on the Sunshine Coast this Friday, which is guided by the Galactic Federation, my higher self, Geeia Ariati, not my identity, which I'm sure you can all see when it pops in and out, right? It's like, oh, there she is. And that ceremony will be guided to meet and connect with your own multi-dimensional self, your true essence, the one that knows. And your energetic support team, Galactic Federation. So Journey to the Center of the Universe is a ceremony that's taking place on Friday. I have 2 spots only left. If you're feeling called, there is a link below. Contact me directly or through Telegram. Also, there is Intimacy and Heart Holding Breathwork the following week. And I have a few spaces available for one-on-one mentorships in sacred sexuality and masculinity work. Also, if you're watching and you are a male or a female that has a masculine wound, I've been hearing the call again to create an online container to heal the masculine wound. The masculine wound is the mother wound. We all have some degree or level of it. It depends where you sit in the polarity swing at the moment, whether you're in your feminine energy or whether you're in your masculine. But the mother wound, I'll give you a couple of things of how that displays. There's a level of being seen for your worth in what you do, what you give, how you show up externally. Perfectionism. There is a level of seeking validation from the feminine energy specifically. So validation from the feminine energy. What else? There's so many things. And my brain has just turned off. Okay, hang on. The masculine energy wound often has sexual distortions as well. So there's usually some level of seeking love through sex and sexual shame and hiding of true sexual essence. There is control factors and passive aggressive behavior through subtle ways, so controlling the external experience. A lot of logic and compartmentalizing, so a lack of being able to flow, and that is just a few. But the mother wound specifically is there because of the masculine energy has given up their power to the feminine externally, and then obviously it's an internal process. And in that giving up of the self to a feminine, it continues to play out through the dynamics. But basically a mother that has made you responsible for their happiness and their emotion. So that may give enough of an energetic understanding of what that is at 5 a.m. Mind you, my sleep angels, wow, it's not 5 a.m. It's actually 5:50. I've been up since 3 a.m. So I love you. Have a beautiful day. Mwah, 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 mwah. Make sure that, if any of this resonated, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your expressions. And you're all amazing. And you all know.